Here is Nurse Showunmi, but not just registered Nurse Showunmi. She is a midwife, a licensed midwife in the United Kingdom. She works with the NHS hospital. That's the broad name for all the hospital system in the UK. But more to it, she has experience in virtual online antenatal classes for pregnant and new moms. So thank you so much for joining. Can you just give us a little snippet into who you are and how has your journey been so far for our community members to know you as well?
Hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much, Ma, for inviting me. My name is Mary Showunmi. I'm popularly known as Nurse Showunmi. I'm a registered midwife. I've been practicing for over 6 years across Nigeria and also in the UK. And I'm very passionate about mother health, like maternal health. I'm very passionate about newborns and, well-being. So when she told me that this was the topic, this is what she wanted to say. And I'm like, okay, if it's about moms, I'm going to be there because knowledge is power. And I like empowering women with the knowledge, what they need to know to be prepared. So I'm so excited to be here. And I really hope that the people at home are also ready with your questions. We want this to be very interactive so that, I can hear from you and I can also speak to you. I hope at the end of this session, you don't only leave here with enough knowledge. You will leave here feeling empowered. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Question to you, ma'am, is why do you think postpartum is a major concern even among new moms? Like, don't you think we know enough? Why do you think it's important for us to talk about postpartum, especially for women that are not even mothers yet?
Postpartum is very, very important.
Yeah.
And the reason why we need to keep talking about it is that there are a lot of classes outside there, about pregnancy, about fertility. People that want to get pregnant, they do a lot of classes. They pay for a lot of knowledge. But postpartum is not really talked about. And that's the phase that nobody can escape. If you want to be a mom, you cannot escape it. Pregnancy, you can escape it if someone is carrying the baby for you as a surrogate. Labor, you can escape it if you're delivering through cesarean section. But postpartum, that's the ghetto. All of us that we are mothers, that's the ghettos we are going to find ourselves in. Apologies for my use of language. I'm just saying that is the situation. Everyone is going to go through the postpartum phase. So it is really, really important, no matter how much. And the fact is that postpartum experience is different. What my postpartum experience is going to be is different from what your postpartum experience is going to be. And there are so many factors that can determine what your postpartum experience is going to be. That's why it's very, very good for you to prepare your mind, prepare your body, prepare a lot of things in place that even if things don't go right, maybe during labor, during delivery, you still have something like a backup, something to spring you up because you're already ready for this period. And this is the time that we are mostly vulnerable, especially for first-time moms, or if you are even living in a faraway country, away from your normal support, like your family, your friends, the people you grew up with. It's really hard to actually, discuss it or explain it to someone who has not even gone through that part. So when you listen to other women, thank you for your platform. When more women are listening to things like this, when it's their turn, they can actually prepare better.
Thank you for saying we need to prepare for postpartum. We need to talk about it. Pregnancy can be supported, or I'll use the word medically outsourced, if that's an appropriate word for that. And also, even the birth and labor delivery, you can opt for cesarean section if your provider permits. But what makes postpartum such a critical period for not just the mother, for the baby? We are celebrating the World Breastfeeding Week, and some mothers might not even have workplace support. Some mothers might not have things. So what do you think their preparation should entail after the birth plan? What should be like their postpartum preparation? And you can go into some of your slide information.
The first 6 weeks of life, which is the major postpartum, that's what is clinically defined as postpartum. But trust me, you never leave that postpartum period, to be honest. But medically, it says within the first six weeks of life, that's the major postpartum. It's a very, very delicate for not just the mom, but also the baby. Because this baby are fresh out of their natural habitats, where they've been for the first 9 months of their life, even up to 10 months. This baby has been fed, they've been kept warm, they never needed to worry about anything. They were just there, chilling and being very happy, in the belly. And then you evict them just one day, and you expect them to survive. And that's why your post as a mother is very, very important. No one can do it like you would do it. For you to have bettered that baby, you have a huge role to play in that baby's life. The first 6 weeks in Nigeria, I'm from Nigeria anyways, I'm going to reference that. We call it the first 41 days. I don't know if you're familiar with it, especially in the Yoruba land. They will say, Kotik Bomojade, like the first 41 days, because that is the clinical period, the period whereby it is fragile for both the mom and also for the baby. For the mom, you're going to be bleeding, your stitches are there. If you had cesarean section, you have your stitch, you have the pain. If you went through a traumatic delivery, your mental health is all over the place. The hormones, your body is shocked because once the baby comes out, once the placenta comes out, the hormones that were being supported by the placenta, it stops abruptly. So your brain is going, your brain is like wiring, because there's a lot of confusion with your brain, with the hormones that is being released. And that's why when we say hold the mom, support the mom, we know what we're saying. Because what would naturally not make you cry, what will naturally would not even face you, the strongest women, like if you look at especially women who are maybe like great women in their professions, when they talk about their motherhood experience, you will realize how humbling it is. You might be a manager doing to-do lists, doing everything. Once it comes to motherhood, you come to learn. You would come to learn, because there are a lot of things going on. But one thing women don't do is that they don't get enough credit for that period. They don't get enough credit. A lot of women are there saying, oh, I've just had a baby. What's the next thing to do? The next thing to do is to heal yourself and heal your baby. There is nothing for you to do. I don't know if I'm going off the question you're already asking, but it's very, very important for you to know that what does your baby need? Your baby needs to be fed. Your baby needs to be clothed. That's the appropriate, the appropriate dressing. If you are in winter, you dress the baby up. If you are in summer, you dress the baby up. Baby needs to be appropriately clothed, and baby needs to sleep. That's all baby needs. Baby doesn't need designers. Baby doesn't need all frivolities. As a mom, what do you need? You need a lot of things. You need mental health support. You need emotional support. You need physical support. You need to be resting. I know a lot of people say, oh, sorry, you can't rest because you've just had a baby. That's because you have so many things to do. You want to make breakfast, you want to make dinner.
Thank you, Nurse Showunmi. What you said is so critical, especially new moms, so concerned with a lot of things. Some of us want to still be very active online, breastfeed, care for, the low care of the first 6 weeks and everything. And you think you can do everything. I think it's not achievable, especially since your body still needs to go through that rest of birthing a new one. And so what you really said about we having that mindset shift, that this is a phase that you use that Yoruba term, that 41 days, stay indoor, be taken care of. I am still trying to see how to accept just not doing a lot of things, even with my baby being almost 18 months, So thank you for that reminder. And back as a midwife, you experience on the first 6 weeks of delivery, the bleeding, and also a mother's trying to say, I want to just snatch back. I just want to dress and be trained in postpartum. How do you think we can balance that and say, medically, this is what you should be looking out for now?
So I'm always a supporter of moms, and I would always advise you to look your best. Because sometimes when you feel down, because your body has changed. When there was a bump, when there was a baby growing, you were flaunting your bump. You wanted everyone to see it. You were so happy. Even if your belly was shooting, you didn't care. But the society is kind of harsh on women. They are kind of presenting a false narrative that immediately you give birth, you have to snap back. I would say snap back is an illusion. It depends on you. It depends on your body structure. It depends on your body type. It depends on so many things. You've had a baby for 9 months. Why do you want to snap back in 1 week? Why do you want to snap back in 4 weeks? Take it easy on yourself. I know that there are some ladies that immediately they give birth, you don't even know that they've even had the baby. Their belly just goes flatter. I know there are some ladies that, for example, myself, my belly pouch is like still dangling. To be honest, let's be fair on ourselves. And sometimes it can affect your body image, how you think of yourself. But what I would say is that wear clothes that actually support your body type. When you have that baby, immediately your baby is born, you can wear clothes that would cover that belly if you're so concerned about it. There are clothes that, when you wear them, they have a lot of designs in such a way that your belly is not just going to be the focus. So find what works for you. Find what works for your body type. Find dresses or clothes or pieces that will make you confident. I'm big on being confident because it also affects your mental health. If you're not beautiful enough or you are not fine, it's just going to affect you, the way you see yourself. So you need to create a mindset around that my body is blessed. My body has just done this beautiful thing that's just molded. It's just like your car is driving a very long journey. And when you come back from your long journey, maybe 10 hours journey, the car broke down. You're not going to say, what type of car is this? You'll be like, oh, thank you for even bringing me home. You've tried. The way we kind of praise our cars. Why can't you do that to your body? Why can't you say, oh, thank you so much? Because this is one of the reasons why a lot of women fall into depression. It is one of the reasons, not cosmetic, the way they feel about themselves, the way they see themselves is one of the reasons, one of the ways that women will just fall into depression. They just feel like, oh my goodness, I'm not that beautiful anymore. I don't feel myself. I've sacrificed myself for this baby. And then, it's going to affect the bonding. Immediately you just have your baby, all you need to be thinking is, how do I bond with this baby? How do I understand this baby? You're understanding the baby's routine. And also, you're listening to your body. Because the first 6 weeks after delivery, you are at risk. You are at risk of pulmonary embolism, that is blood clots that can transfer to your lungs. You are at risk of, postpartum bleeding, which is maybe secondary postpartum bleeding. Some people, after a while, they will start to bleed very heavily, depending on their situation. So if you are not, in the right state of mind to actually monitor what is wrong with you and what is wrong with your baby, you might miss the important things, focusing on, all the physical aspects, because now you need to be sure your baby is getting enough food. You need to be sure your baby is wetting their nappies enough, to be sure their kidneys are even functioning. You need to be sure that your own breast milk supply, is great, and what you can do to support your breast milk supply. So you have a lot of things to actually think of in that period of time. And that's why during pregnancy, when people are pregnant, they will start to buy maternity gowns. Why don't you buy all those gowns too when you are in postpartum? That will make you look beautiful. So just, depending on your situation.
I have an experience there.
Yeah. Find a way actually bring these things together so that you don't focus on the most frivolous things, you focus on the most important things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I will also say that you're going to our next set of questions on breastfeeding. I wanted us to deal with the situation of postpartum in general. I know what postpartum is before going to breastfeeding. And so talking about, you were looking for nice maternity dresses to show your bum, to show that, I'm a cute preggy mama. When you're breastfeeding, you can also be a cute breastfeeding mama. I mean, even if you're pumping as well or trying to get into the situation of proper latching, there are clothes you should get, breastfeeding wears. When I was in the University of Ibadan, we were celebrating breastfeeding, World Breastfeeding Week or World Breastfeeding Month. Before I became a mom, I'm like, oh yeah, breastfeeding. Why are all these women complaining about breastfeeding? But you know what? The lived experience with my professional training, I had to put together and look at, okay, what is the most feasible thing? So even before breastfeeding, I had it in mind that I'm going to breastfeeding. Intention to breastfeeding is great, but the practice need effort. It needs the skills. Do you have comfortable wears? Do you have breastfeeding cover? Although breastfeeding should be dignified everywhere, But you said we can get cute clothes. I mean, breastfeeding tops that will just have a zip down and you're free to breastfeed your child, your son or your daughter. And coming to breastfeeding, do you think mothers who have issues with loving their body, looking at your experience, looking at, I want to just snap back, do you think those kind of mother would struggle with breastfeeding, or do you think their body image perception, this is me saying do you think, but looking at clinical practice, what has been your experience of mothers saying, I want to breastfeed, it's difficult, but then looking at their own personal preferences, what are your experiences on that, and what should women do? Breastfeeding is key, but how can we support them on to say that this is not just about the baby, it's also about you?
I think culturally, what is being practiced has a lot of influence on the norms. I grew up in Nigeria. I trained in Nigeria where breastfeeding is like being promoted. Like you cannot even bring a bottle to the hospital. That's how protected breastfeeding was. Like, I know there are some bad aspects of it. Sometimes they overdo. Do you understand? But that was, what we saw that was happening, even as student midwife. But when we talk about body image, there are a lot of misconceptions. Some women believe that when they breastfeed, their breast will sag and then it will not be beautiful. Do you understand? But the thing is, this is a muscle. The more you use it, the more it has the tendency, because obviously, unlike our arm, it has support. Unlike our bum, it has support. Your breast is just dangling, to be honest. So if it dangles for a long time, it will fall. If you lose weight, it will fall. So breastfeeding is not, whether you breastfeed your baby or not, go and look at every 90-year-old, at least very good in the UK. Not everyone wants to have a child. Not everybody have children. Go and look at those old women. Do you see any old woman that still has their breast standing? No, it's going to fall because their muscles, just the way the muscles of their arms will fall, just the way the muscles of their legs will fall, that's how the muscles of their breast will fall. I'm a big advocate for breastfeeding, but I say fed is best. Breastfeeding should not cost you your mental health. Breastfeeding should not cause you trauma. Breastfeeding should be a blessed moment. It should be a moment for you to be happy. I understand that a lot of people have struggles with breastfeeding. To be honest, it's not easy, especially within the first few weeks when you're trying to latch the baby. What I tell people is that sometimes the society thinks that breastfeeding is natural. You should just be able to put your baby to breast and it should go. There are some babies that will do that. Some baby, breastfeeding, for you to actually have a successful breastfeeding, is dependent on the mom, the breast, and the baby. So even if I'm talking, just understand that I'm not judging you. Myself, my baby did not latch on my breast, and I pumped for 6 months. And I support with breastfeeding, like I'm so passionate about breastfeeding. And imagine myself that I know all these positionings, that I know everything, that I tried all my best, and my baby did not still latch. Like, what am I going to do about it? And that's why I went for the option of I want my baby to have breast milk. I'm still going to pump. I pumped exclusively. I'll pump in the middle of the night, in the morning, in the evening, and she took only breast milk for 6 months. So just have it at the back of your mind that breastfeeding should not be a struggle. If you start to struggle, you need help. Don't feel ashamed. Some people feel ashamed. Oh, because I can't breastfeed, I'll be ashamed. No, you don't need to be ashamed. You need to seek support. And the earlier you seek support, the best for you, the best for that baby to come back to the breast. Do you understand? Because we love to breastfeed. I encourage breastfeeding. Breastfeeding as it, but some people, once the breastfeeding fails, they don't even want to try any other thing. You don't even want to try support. We have a lot of lactational practitioners that can actually, they are consultants that can support you. And it's not even until you walk into the clinic, they can actually have virtual, consultation with you and to see the root cause of your breastfeeding. In the hospital where I work, I support women to make sure that they are confident with breastfeeding even before they go home. Because and like I said in the beginning, I said fed is best. Because in my hospital, if you start to breastfeed baby, and maybe if your baby loses more than 11% of their birth weight on the day 5 appointment, they will have to put you on a feeding plan. And that feeding plan, whether you're breastfeeding or you're giving top up or you're expressing, they want to actually be measuring what baby is taking.
Okay, I want to talk more about your experience and how we can also be clear with the standard practice so that some of our members don't think, I know it's stressful. Nurse Showunmi said because she couldn't lactate well, she only pumped. So your situation was a bit unique because you know the benefits and you have the intention that no matter what, I'm going to overcome this. And that's why we're talking about postpartum. And that's why the conversation, like I mentioned, our lived experiences. So for moms that they want to breastfeed and they find it so difficult and they say, oh, mental health. It's a conversation. And I'm so glad I'm on the nutrition dietitian side and you're on the midwife, nurse, a practitioner kind of. I have another family practitioner coming, so sorry. Why do you think even the healthcare providers, I'm throwing the question back to both of us so our community members can learn. Why do you think even the healthcare professionals sometimes don't feel prepared? When I mean don't feel prepared, we have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have the intention. Don't you think we are lacking some support? Even for us to achieve what we're thinking.
So
that should be standard practice.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that every woman who is intending to breastfeed, there are a lot of people that is going to contribute to your successful breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
For some women, they are quite lucky. Once they put baby on the breast, the baby will go for it and they will start to feed. But we need to acknowledge that a lot of women struggle with supply. A lot of women struggle with, putting their babies to breast. So what then is in place?
The proper latching, the stress,
yes,
and all those things. I'm trying to bring it back to you to say that's why we need postpartum support. If a mother is thinking about, I need to breastfeed this girl, or this boy, but I've not eaten. I need to clean the house. Oh, I need to do the laundry, diaper change. Where is the place of maybe the spouse? Where is the place of, let's say, family and friends? Where is the place of community support? It might not necessarily be family and friends. Where is the place of, do you have a church group? Do you have, even not a religious group, do you have a circle of new moms? Now we used to have postpartum support. You have ANC with Nurse Showunmi, where other moms are supporting. I think that can also bridge the gap for the gap in breastfeeding, aside the latching processes?
I'm telling you, this is what I scream to moms. Motherhood is not supposed to be done alone.
Thank
And
you.
going through, like, once you are in the hospital and you get support from the hospital staff,
The
once
nurses.
you're at home, you need that support to actually achieve a successful breastfeeding. And I understand that it can be hard in the type of situation we are, but then look around you. What type of support you have available to you? This might not be the support you are used to, but what support is available for you? Your partner, very, very key. Your partner cannot breastfeed, but they can bring some water to your bedside.
Staying hydrated.
They can order things. They can, make life easier for you. Do the laundry while you focus on feeding. And that's why in the first few months of life, we need that support. And this act is actually fading away a little bit. You need that support. And I spoke about this during the breastfeeding week, and what I said was that, what support do you have available to you? It might not be your mom. Your mom might be hours away from you and cannot even come to you to support you. But you have that church member that has been calling you. How are you doing? How are you feeling? But you're not opening up.
You're not accepting the help.
I will tell you for a fact that because I had my baby in the US actually, and it was when I was coming back, I'd already planned in my head, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. But my friends were like, oh, should I bring soup for you? Should I? I felt a little bit like, I don't really think I need this. But thank God I took that support. Like, my mind, pregnancy changed my mind, my mindset about accepting support. Sometimes it's not about that the support is not there. The support is actually there, but you're not inviting these people in. You're not accepting the hands that they're stretching at you. So while you are being pregnant, you need to, ask questions. Oh, once I'm in the hospital, would you be happy to, make some food for me? Would you be happy to drop my child? Would you be happy to, all these arrangements can actually go a long way. Because you don't want to be breastfeeding and then thinking, I think someone said that they saw a woman who was day 5 postpartum was actually taking a child to school and fainted on the way.
What experience is that?
Because she thought she was strong enough.
5-day postpartum?
Yeah, yes. She was taking a child to school. Women, don't do yourself. You are not a superwoman. Even if they are saying you're a superwoman, you are a superwoman because of what you do. But do not bring yourself to that point whereby you break down. Look at it. Take a step back and think, what experience do I want in my postpartum period?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might not have people, but you can send your money on an errand. You can, turn your money around. Like, you can get someone to cater for, maybe even if it's just the first week, for you to balance yourself. One thing I did for the postpartum period was that I was strong enough to cook before I went into labor. I made batches of food into the freezer.
Same here.
I made batches of food into the freezer that the first few days after we came back from the hospital, no one even needed to run around. It just needed to like go to the fridge, bring out food, and that was it. You can't do so, like, you can't do too much. You need to be kind to yourself and kind to that little one that you brought. And that's why some women would find it so difficult to bond with the baby, because they're just so stressed. They can't imagine something that is supposed to be an happy moment, why it's become such a dreadful moment for them. Some women would hurt in their breast to the extent that anytime the baby wants to suck, they would have panic attack. You should not get to that point.
Okay. So we've talked about the physical support. As a mom, I'm looking back in hindsight and I'm saying, if you don't ask for the right knowledge, you can't get it. Breastfeeding, it's a long-term tradition that is scientifically backed up, but it's a skill. And that's one thing I think both of us agree on. Breastfeeding is a skill.
It's so funny.
It's not something that people should assume I can breastfeed my child. So when you know breastfeeding is a skill, take a breastfeeding class, seek a lactation consultant. I would say you open up about pumping and the likes. Personally, for me, I had to use what do they call it again? The breastfeeding cream and the nipple shield.
Okay.
And a medical professional will know why I needed to use the nipple shield. The inverted nipples concern. Sometimes maybe the baby is a newborn baby cluster feed. And you as a mom that are still trying to settle into that process, you need a nipple shield. I understand some countries might not have that supplied freely in the hospital. But if you know that, oh, this is my intention, how do I prepare? A woman that wants to get married or that is trying to get pregnant, most times be like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm taking this, I'm seeing this. Breastfeeding should also be prioritized like that, forward together. And that's why we're having this conversation. Nurse Showunmi, I think we all need to start telling our patients or our community members, like we have here today, like they need to know breastfeeding is a skill. And when you think something is a skill, you learn it.
Yes.
Some nipples, cracked nipples, especially I had an experience of a mom that joined our group. I think that was in May, or was like, I don't think I can breastfeed my child enough to satisfaction, or was why it was the issue of demand and supply. I think she's a barrister and she was like, oh, my baby is 3 months. I need to resume work or call and things like that. And then she reduced placing the baby on the breast. And you know what that means? Yes, people exclusively pump for 6 months. I've seen that. But you know, especially for a mom that is still trying to understand and she can breastfeed, she doesn't have latching issue, because she failed to know the demand and supply mechanism, she couldn't just increase her supply. And you know, supply is the demand. The more you keep placing your baby to breast, at least 8 times a day, can be more than that. And breastfeeding, like lactation consultant to tell us, I'm a lactation advocate. I study nutrition, but more to it, I know the place of certification that people actually studied breastfeeding as a research niche, as a consultancy business. And why they are saying that there are methods, mechanism to empty each breast for the fore and hind milk to come out and feed your child for a start. A newborn baby should not even have more than like 15 ml of the breast milk, like 2 of it in a day. And it's possible if you know that, oh, I'm breastfeeding my child at feed. But when we fail to know, oh, the right measure, the right feed, and the right timing, I think it can be an issue. And that's why postpartum support, breastfeeding should be hand in hand. I'm sorry to talk more, but I just wanted us to have our community members, ANC will show me community members, to also know that even if we are all saying we are healthcare providers, breastfeeding is still a skill, and they need to know that we need to learn it. We need to increase our plans or our quest for knowledge of empowering ourselves with that skill. And I think that should also help us see. But mental health, like you were talking, is another issue. Are you a mom? Are you proud of that face? That's another issue, because psychology, stress is also linked to the demand and supply phase of breastfeeding. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah, I agree. Very profound, to be honest. And these were the things I focused on during the breastfeeding week. Because a lot of people will just assume, because breast milk is coming from my chest, I should be able to breastfeed. But then they get to that point where they say, oh, it's actually hard. It's harder than I thought, to be honest. And that's why I tell people breastfeeding is a skill, not just for yourself, for also the baby. You are learning a new skill. The baby is learning a new skill. You both need to be patient to be able to master that skill. And the thing is, starting it is the hardest part of it. Once you start it and you know your way around it, the rest of your journey will be quite easy. And also, like you said, we need to understand there are a lot of things attached to breastfeeding to actually achieve a successful breastfeeding, depending on what your goal for breastfeeding is. Mm-hmm. So it's very important for you to take the support that you have, look in depth, get that knowledge. there are a lot of resources online. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people you can come to. I've done a lot of breastfeeding consultation virtually for lots of women. Sometimes it's just even assisting, like just changing the position, because we're all used to this position. That's what we see in the movies. That's what we see when people are, outside. And, for someone who has just had a cesarean section, is that the best, position for you? Is that the most comfortable position for you? Switching things up and, just seeing what works best for you and your little one would actually go a long way in making sure that your breastfeeding journey is actually one that you enjoy and you derive pride from.
Yeah. So I have a question here already. Thank you. Someone is saying, but breast milk for infant have been said to help reduce risks of infection. Why is it that my baby still have fever once in a while?
Okay.
During breastfeeding.
So let me talk about fever. What is the rate of fever? Are you using a thermometer to actually determine if it is fever, or because the baby is close to you, the eating? When two things have been on the same surface together, it might generate a little bit of it. Is that what you're saying? So I need to get clarity from the person that is saying that.
Yeah, the person didn't even also talk about, okay, is it like above, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's above 99 Fahrenheit, we use Fahrenheit in the US, you should be a bit concerned, or it should not get to 102. Fever in itself is an indication of something. I'm not a medical doctor, but I know that fever is not just because you want to quickly diagnose and say the baby is sick. Mm-hmm. Breastfeeding provides the immunological protection. Doesn't mean your baby is still not trying to learn the new environment and know or the baby is trying to, especially an infant that is above, let's say, 5, 4 months, 6 months, teething is coming in and things like that. So
feeding does not solve all the issues, but it's actually a good foundation for your baby.
Yeah.
There's scientific research, that there's scientific evidence to back this up, that babies who breastfeed have, a lot of immune protection over a lot of diseases. This doesn't mean that the baby who is also formula fed would just fall sick anyhow, but the immune that is being provided by the breast milk, the immune response, when your baby puts the mouth on the breast, the baby is bringing all the organism in the baby's mouth, goes on the breast, the mom's body creates a response, and also that would kind of modify a response in the breast milk and transfer back to the baby. So if your baby is actually having a fever, you need to be sure what is actually causing the fever. Sometimes it might be that the baby is just putting the ants everywhere and then putting it in the mouth. And that's when babies get to that point where they are mobile, that's when they will say they are teething, they are having fevers. Even a teething baby should ideally not have fever. So you need what is actually happening. Is it actually fever, or is just your baby's body being warm?
Or unhygienic environment.
Yes. So
because that is another issue.
Breastfeeding protect your baby, but it will not do all the job for you. So you need to be sure of what's happening in that aspect.
Thank you, Nurse Showunmi. I know we are almost running out of our time, and we still have almost 15 minutes. No, less than 15 minutes. But I want you to also go into those important aspects of postpartum you want us to talk about. We've talked extensively on balancing breastfeeding and getting support, preparing your own food to eat. Last week, dietitian Tokwe from Lagos, Nigeria, also told us about oxytocin, prolactin that actually help us know that breastfeeding is producing based on suckling reflex. And she gave us in-depth into why breastfeeding is very important. She talked based on some of the benefits. But I want you to also share with us what are the things you think, as your experience and as a professional, you can also reference some of your slide document on these are things you should prioritize. Okay. These are things you should do.
Yeah, I'll just even go quickly to just, explain, since we have less than 15 minutes. Number one, like I said from the beginning, for you to know what you need during postpartum, you need to know what your body has been through. So your body has not only been through physical changes, it's been through hormonal changes, it's been through emotional changes, it's been through social changes, it's been to, a lot of things. So when you are actually planning your support for postpartum, you should be planning according to what your body needs. So the first thing I'm going to say is that as a mom, your body needs adequate rest. You've gone through, people liken labor to like several miles of marathon. The effect of labor on your body to several miles of marathon. So now imagine you went through marathon. You would actually rest, right? So what rest are you putting in place? You need to put a system in place. You need to put a structure in place. And one of the things that really helped me was that I was so particular because I was so scared of postpartum, to be honest. Postpartum depression, I'm like, how am I going to cope in a new country? And we planned, So what support? Do you have your spouse supporting you? Is your spouse actually going to work? How can you get that rest? And I know it's cliche for them to say, sleep when your baby is sleeping. And a lot of us find that impossible to do. But what I say is, when your baby is calm, rest. I can be in the middle of cooking, to be honest, and I stop cooking and just go and rest because that's what my body needs. But how many women can do that? Some women would force themselves. Some women want to complete that task they are doing. But you need to prioritize your rest, especially when you don't have any other thing happening for you, when you don't have any extra support. And you can actually not afford physically to pay someone to be there for you. So then, what you have is what you will make do with. So adequate support is key. Nothing matters during this period. Yourself, your baby, that's the key. Your husband doesn't even matter. He can get the support somewhere else. He should be supporting you because you need that support at that time. Fine, there's a place of supporting men. I'm not talking about them now. I'm talking about you. So we'll be focusing on you. Another thing is good nutrition. What are you eating? What are you consuming? Are you consuming sugar? Because some people, because they cannot physically cook, then they are ordering lots of things, lot of unhealthy snacks, lot of unhealthy things that is actually not helping your body heal. So you need to prioritize fruits, vegetables, your supplements. You need to prioritize that during this period because you need it. It's not just only because you were pregnant, that's why you need to take supplements. Even after you've had the baby, you need to continue these supplements because it needs to replenish what has been lost. So another thing you need to do is to hydrate. I tell women, drink for two. Drink for your whole house. You need to be hydrating as much as possible. And I'm focusing on you now because when you are balanced, when you are fine, that's when you will be able to support your baby. Do you understand? That's why I'm focusing on the mom. When you hydrate, when you're fine, when your health is okay, that's when you'll be able to actually support your baby. So you need to prioritize your mental health. This is not the time to think about people, what people will say, what people will do. You need to block out a lot of noises because there are some people that are really unkind and they can, bring you down mentally. So those type of people, you need to block them out. Even if they are friends, just, block them out and prioritize things that make you happy, things that, put you in the right mood, things that will uplift your spirits. Those are the things you should be practicing. Like, even if it's going to be a 10-minute walk that you want to do daily, even if it's going to be listening to music, even if it's just keeping your baby with your spouse or in the cot and just walking to the window and getting fresh air, encourage yourself to do anything that would make you, support yourself. So another thing I have here is self-care. What is your self-care? Some women would even struggle to bathe themselves because some women are scared to leave the baby in such a way that they can't even leave the baby to go to the restroom. They can't even leave the baby to go and have a wee. So that is not healthy. If you are getting to that point, you need to seek medical support. You need to start flagging it. And when I'm discharging a lady, I speak to the spouse, I speak to the people around them that these are the signs you need to watch out for. If you're seeing those signs, you need to report to the hospital as soon as possible. So what else are you getting? How do you want to, what support do you have in place? What support do you, I know we've said a lot of things about support. Take one or two things out of it. Look at the people. To be honest, some people naturally expect that because I supported this person, the person should support me in return. But actually, the person you supported is now back to work. Now as maybe a toddler, and she's still even dealing with that phase. So the person you're supporting that you supported might not even be able to provide you that support, but it's going to be someone else. It's going to be another person. So just open your mind to whatever comes your way, and don't feel bad if someone is not giving as much as you expect, because sometimes because we've given a lot, we are expecting that, and we feel so down that this person is not there for me. So just make use of what you have in place. Then there's a place of acceptance. You need to accept the fact that you are in this period. You're not slowing down. You're not missing out on anything. You're actually creating a world, or you're creating something that the generation will be grateful to you for. So appreciate yourself and accept it. For example, for people like us that are working, you'll be getting all those updates, your colleagues doing all these things, and your maternity leave, you're like, oh my goodness, what's happening? You feel bad, you feel down, but don't feel like you're missing out. Just feel like you have your own pathway, and be with people that can encourage you. If it's starting to get to you, talk to a therapist. Make use of a therapist. Make use of your friends. Make use of people that you can talk and just rant to. People that have been there before. And most especially, have people who are going through what you're going through now. And that's why the place of community is very important. It can be virtually, it can be physically. When you say, my baby is not sleeping all through the night and I'm going crazy, and someone says, yes, that's true, my baby did not also sleep. It gives you a sense of, oh, I'm actually not alone in this. Someone else is going through this and we are here together. Do you understand? So find your community. There are so many apps. This community is great. Nurse Showunmi is perfect. Anywhere that you can get that support, please do get that support from yourself. Then I say, love yourself. Receive love from your spouse, from people that are showing you love. You need to love yourself. You need to gush over yourself. Just hail yourself like, oh my goodness, you've done this great thing. You need to, it's worthy of applause. It's worthy of celebration. Celebrate yourself. You deserve it. And lastly, I'll just say,
Yeah.
or else. Know when you're ready to resume. Know when you don't want to stop. And if you have any problem down there after, the old childbirth, you need to get it sorted as soon as possible.
I don't want you to go before you talk about that childbirth. That was the question that I wanted us to wrap up with, and I love what you said. Like, people, let's celebrate Nurse Showunmi. But before you go, talk about postpartum and women being sexually active. Is it still possible? Because there are a lot of things that are going into it. I know you are not like a gynecologist, you're a midwife. Should our community members, our mothers, be scared of still fulfilling their own desires even while doing postpartum or breastfeeding as it were? Not necessarily for family planning, like people say. I wouldn't say that is the gold standard, like. But can you talk more about that as a wrap up, and just to let our community members know?
Yeah, what I would say is that your body, what your body has been like, what your family dynamics is. So yourself. That little thing that is tingling in your body when you're seeing your spouse, because you've had a baby, it's not just going to disappear, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's still there. So do well. What I would advise women, if you're under 6 weeks, just make sure, if you're still having your look here, just make sure to use protection. If you are ready for it, go for it, my love. There is no, if you're ready for it, don't be scared, because One thing in my profession I've enjoyed is like teaching women how to actually enjoy their sex during pregnancy and after pregnancy. Because what I say, even to women, if you see that the green signs are everywhere and you're ready, I advise women, initiate it first. It's easier that way. Your first sex after delivery, initiate it first. Because that way, you're mentally prepared, your body is prepared, you already know that this is what we want to do today, and we are going to do it. So if you initiate it first, it might be easier, penetration will be better, you understand? So that way, it's going to give you a better experience. Even if it's painful, you can stop. You understand? So there's no pressure from the other end. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
But
So
medically advice, I would say during Lochia, it should still be restricted a little for health reasons and safety.
but medically, people will come out according to the gold standard. You know when you're going to be ready. You don't need to wait for 6 weeks. Fine, within the first 6 weeks,
Of
it's
bleeding and things like that.
sexual. And that's why I said you need to protect yourself. You need to use condom if you're going to do anything before the 6 weeks.
What about our women that went through cesarean section?
If you're ready, go for it. That's what I would advise. You don't need, because when you go for your 6, even when you go for your 6 weeks, because what we found out is that when you tell women wait for 6 weeks, then the women are doing it in the wrong way, and then coming back to the hospital with infection by their 6 weeks. So even if you add cesarean section, there are styles you would do that would not cause any harm to you or to your belly. So, but the most important thing is that once you are getting low care, make sure to use a condom within the first 6 weeks to prevent any introduction of infection.
Your womb is still, I think it's really fragile at that moment.
Immediately you have your baby, your body is already in a process of getting back to the place. So 6 weeks might not be, from experience and what we've advised women medically, is that you know when you are ready. Some women would not even be ready by 6 weeks. Do you know that? Some women would take more time. Some women would take up to 3 months before they are actually ready to initiate anything. And this is also, you need to take factor to the women that, add episiotomy. Some women add episiotomy, they add stitches, and they open up within there. So you don't want to box them and say 6 weeks. You want to say when you're ready, go for it. But if it is before 6 weeks, which is like the medical, timeline, then you need to be protecting yourself from infection, because your womb is still, is still healing from the placenta side. So if you're going to be having sex before 6 weeks, make sure to protect yourself from that infection. But anything after 6 weeks, you go for it. And if you think you're going too long because of the experience you've had, because maybe some people have had traumatic tears, some people have had like 3B tears, which are tears that wouldn't even extend to your anus. Sometimes it takes a lot of time, up to even 6 months, before they heal. Do you understand? So you know yourself, you know your body. Whenever you're ready, you can go for it.
But thank you for that. There are other things we didn't talk about of postpartum complications. Some moms have difficulty passing out waste elimination, even visiting the toilet. There are a lot of moms, they'll call it carpal tunnel. I think I experienced some of that due to the stress of carrying the baby and things like that. And so there are other medical concerns that if you have as a community member, please talk to your gynecologist or your primary provider as well. We are only here providing educational information. We still need you to seek out your primary provider on the recommended, or I will say it's because they know your medical history. You are their patient. But what we're telling you today is for you to be literate concerning postpartum. If you are not married, if you are married or you're a grandmom, I know we have some elderly mothers in our community just trying to say, I want to learn more. Please support our new moms during postpartum. And thank you so much, Nurse Showunmi. I can say that you're so passionate about what you do. and you are a valued added guest for us today. And thank you so much. In your last word, what will you say to us during this World Breastfeeding Week? I know you had your experience with breastfeeding, but you still did it in your way, you know. So encourage our mothers.
Well done, mamas. Like we've said, breastfeeding is a skill. Go for the knowledge, go for the, go for support when you can get, and, breastfeeding is actually rewarding. So don't give up. Don't give up too soon. Make sure you try everything you can and make sure you don't give up. Well done.